Hail, weary podcast traveler and well met. I see your adventure through the depths of the internet has led you here to sliding into the DMs. Now, this is not a podcast for the dirty boys, as the name implies, but rather a D&D advice and creative concepts podcast where these three nerds take your questions, suggestions, and pop culture influences to turn them into playable content, making goofs all along the way. This show is for everyone, from level 1 adventurers just stepping into the realm of D&D to the level 19 Dragon Slayer. Their aim is to help both players and DMs alike. Even Gary Gygax needed help sometimes. Just ask Dave Arneson. So step into our tavern, take off your cloak of Elvenkind, and spend some time sliding into the DMs.
Roll for initiative. Oh, shit. I'll let you guys go first.
Natural 20.
Oh my god. What's your dex modifier?
I don't know what my dex modifier is.
Cause look at this baby boy. Look at this guy. Oh wait, okay, hold on. Holding up to the camera. Yeah, 20, son. We both got it.
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
Oh.
one, son.
Because he's number one.
Suck that.
You know what? All right, Nick. Roll for your dexterity then. D4 it. D4 for your dexterity.
You gotta make me dig in my bag of tricks first.
I got the fucking nat one. How? Like, you
right.
both got 20s, I got a 1. That's cheating. That's not fair. You got weighted dice. You fucking bullshit. It's cap.
Hey man, this is a very high quality metal dice. Okay, there's nothing.
Cap about that.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Roll it. Roll your dex modifier.
I'm referee for this
4.
one.
Fuck you!
Wow.
Dude, how is this happening? Fucking 4, homie.
I don't know if you can...
4?
Okay, alright. Alright, you go ahead and start, since we're both just super dexterous and both fucking... How did we both just roll that hot? I've never fucking rolled that hot in my life.
You might say that you were both
and we both just did it at the same time.
on a roll.
We're both on a fucking roll.
Get it?
I hope that roll continues throughout the night. Let's go.
Because
It's a cinnamon roll.
it's rolling dice. Get it? Get it?
Don't tell the fat. Don't talk to the fat kid about cinnamon rolls, okay? I'm getting hungry now.
Cinnamon rolls with pecans.
Ooh,
Anyways,
pecans.
welcome to Sliding Into the DMs. It is me, your stat puncher, Nick.
And I'm Trevor. I am your forum troll.
And I'm Cameron. I'm just the co-host guy with the voice.
The voice.
Yeah. The voice. This is the voice.
No.
All right, Nick. You had the highest. Well, I mean, we both did, but you're going to start it off. So why don't you go ahead? I know you had some points you wanted to get to tonight. Let's hit me with one.
Well, so a real simple one I was thinking about is, whenever you jump into a new game and everyone's brand new, they're starting out, but say you're not playing with new players, it's real boring to have everyone just start off at level 1, especially if you have these elaborate backstories of this monk who trained for years in a monastery, but you're only level 1. So I came up with the idea of either having some type of modifier from previous games or just rolling a d4 at the start for all players, so that when you start the new game, you have varying levels that help you create more dynamic backstories for the players that are actually going to be playing. So you don't start off at level 1 adventure. Maybe you're a fighter rogue and you have a history of fighting and being a rogue, but you're level 3 multiclass at the start of the game, and part of your history is the fact that you had to learn to still in your backstory, and you're not just some urchin on the street begging for coin.
I like that. It adds a little diversity to the game, and it kind of brings backstory into it, because like you're saying, everyone has all these different backstories where they did all this crazy stuff. Everyone makes very elaborate backstories, which is what really makes the game fun. But then that never actually plays into, a lot of where you are now. Like you start the game, I had this backstory, I did all this crazy stuff, but you're still a level 1, and everyone's a level 1. No matter your backstory of, I just started doing this stuff, or I've been training my whole life for this stuff. And they all kind of start at level 1. So I think it is kind of fun to start at, putting different people in different places too. Having someone be a level 1 and someone being a level 4, I think it's going to be a little bit more realistic. You're not all the same. You have different starting points where you're going to, be different people. So it makes it fun to, and more, I guess, almost realistic in a fantasy world to have people on different stages in their life.
So I just thought of this, and I kind of want to pull off of Lord of the Rings a little bit. But you notice how, when the Fellowship of the Ring starts, Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin, they take off on their adventure. But Frodo and Sam are definitely going to be level 1 players. But Merry and Pippin, they're a little bit more mischievous. They go off on adventures all the time. They're probably starting off at level 2. But then as they get going through and they're out or trying to run away from their home, they make it to where they meet what's his name, the sword guy, the human.
Aragorn.
Yeah, Aragorn.
Yeah,
so they run into Aragorn, and once they run into him, he's a lot more experienced. He's probably closer to level 5 or level 6, now running with a group of level 2s. So, and that you kind of have a lot more dynamic story, like with Lord of the Rings, where everyone has different capabilities and levels. Even Gandalf is probably rolling around at a solid level 6, while everyone else is at level 1.
Well, while he's still Gandalf the Grey, he's like level 6 to level 8 maybe.
Well, see, I'm pretty convinced he's probably a level 4 fighter, level 2 wizard, or level 2 sorcerer. Or no, sorry, not even that either way. Level 2 warlock.
Okay. But then when he comes back as the White, he's kind of a little bit more higher level. He's pretty fucking badass at that point.
Yeah. His fighter stance turned to paladin.
Yeah. And his sorcery skills went way up. No, I really like it. I think that could be fun to play with. The only thing, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. You're kind of have to track XP and milestones a little bit differently because, it takes longer for a level 5 to level up to a level 6 than it does a level 1 to go to a level 2. Just the knowledge you gain and how fast you're gaining it is going to be different based on your level. So take that in consideration before you take on this challenge, that you are going to have to track everyone a little differently, and when they level up and how they level up is now an individual thing rather than as a group. But other than that, I think it's a fucking super fun idea to play with.
Well, that actually makes me think a little bit, too, of an alternate experience system where instead of actually tracking experience numbers, 500 XP, 200 XP, dividing it between the group, you break it into a tally system to where you have, basic stuff to where small skills, you're an alchemist, so you brew some potion. Well, you successfully brew a potion for a day, you get 1 experience tally. Or say you discover a new town or a new part of the forest that you have mapped out. Well, there's another experience tally. Or you come over, kill some goblins or a small skirmish, an experience tally. But say it's something bigger, you make your way out of a dungeon after spending, an entire week underground, 3 experience tallies. But chop it up to where, you have a scaling experience depending on, okay, if you're at level 1, it takes 10 experience to level up. Okay, you're level 2, 15 experience. And that way your experience levels are a lot smaller, and you can scale them to who is actually earning it. So it's, you're a fighter who likes to play music, but now you're trying cooking. Well, it's something new, so just for trying it, experience tally. But you like the music a lot, you do it all the time, you protected the song, 2 experience tallies.
I like that, and that's a much more simplistic way to kind of break it down to as far as keeping track of who's going to level when. And then I also think that's a fun way to start to multi-class too, and track that is like kind of like we did with Chris when he wanted to multi-class he was a bard. He wanted to multi-class, or no, he was a rogue and he wanted to multi-class as a bard.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, you can't just say you want to multi-class as a bard. What are you going to do to fucking get there? Well, that's where those experience tallies start to come into play, where we start, okay, every night, if you want to be a bard, you better start, every time we go to a bar, you got to fucking get an instrument and play. When we're at camp, you got to play so that you can start leveling up, your experience to even start as a bard. And then the more you play, the more, you can level up your bard skills. And that's kind of, I think, a good way to do it too with anything, any of these classes. If you want to, if you're a sorcerer, well, then you're you get experience tallies for using your spells or learning spells, but then if you're doing melee stuff and you're actually just getting in there and fucking people up with melee, okay, that starts a different experience tally where you're actually kind of getting experience as a fighter rather than as a sorcerer, and then you start to develop your character that way, and it actually makes a more realistic version of your class and puts you more into the role playing of the character as far as how he's leveling up, and the knowledge he's gaining isn't just based off of, well, yeah, he's a sorcerer and yeah, we've defeated X amount of enemies, but he didn't cast a spell one single time in battle.
Yeah.
He's got this mace or whatever that he's just been going there and fucking people up with because he has a high con even as a sorcerer, which would be weird, but people do weird builds like that because it's fun. So yeah, that's me. I do weird builds. But that would make it more realistic of like, okay, yeah, sure, like I said, if he's done killed all these people, but he hasn't done any fucking spells to do it, then why is he gaining slots in sorcery? He's not practicing sorcery at all. He's practicing fighting. Then you start to actually level up as a fighter, and that changes the whole player progression into a more, I think, fun way of role-playing than just normal player progression.
I think a good way to visualize what you just described is kind of like a Skyrim or Witcher skill tree, to where your kind of points have to follow with your activities. And so, like in Skyrim, you work on blacksmithing while your blacksmithing increases and you get closer to that skill, but it doesn't help anything else. Just like if you're going around and you're slashing people with your, dual wielding swords or sword and your dagger or whatever, you're getting melee combat. Or if you're taking hits on your armor, you're getting armor experience. So it kind of tailors how you play the game to more of who your character actually becomes.
Yeah. Cameron?
Yeah.
I know you've played Skyrim.
I have.
Thoughts?
I mean, I think it does seem like it would have to go with the respective talent that you're going towards, kind of like a skill tree set. Exactly like how it was said, that if you're going towards one activity or you're doing one said activity, then those skill points or the experience you have should only go towards that, whereas it would make it more versatile for the leveling schemes rather than just like, oh, you did a thing, like experience point, like you gained a level. It would give more depth to like the play, I feel, in terms of just how it would alter like a standard play style.
So devil's advocate here now is, what about the common issue with a lot of, say, MMORPGs or, just video games in general, where because you have these these skill trees and these certain perspective skills that you can level up, how do you keep players then from skill farming, going out and focusing on just one skill until they master it, so then they can make everything else easier from that point on? Say like mastering your blacksmith in Skyrim.
I mean, there's a couple ways. One, if that's the way that they think their character is gonna go, then cool, fucking let them do it. If you want to, max out, that's kind of like when I decided when we were playing, campaign 1, and I thought, my paladin, cool, I actually want to multiclass this, and I'm going to go to a sorcery school, and I'm going to fucking now multiclass paladin and sorcery. It was just a character choice of which path I wanted to go, right? Mm-hmm. I could have just kept leveling up my paladin and being super proficient at one thing, or I took this other path where now I'm diversifying my character and giving him a different skill set to pull off of when I need it. So I think that's going to kind of be the same thing in this style of play. It's, are you going to build someone who's more of a jack of all trades, or are you going to master one? And you don't make it so it's super easy to max out a skill.
Yeah.
Where they can just like
make
it do that. Okay, I'm
skills.
Yeah, like I'm cool. I'm a master, alchemist now, and like it's early on in the game. No, like you got to make it reasonable as far as leveling up, so that they're not just mastering that out, so that it's easier for other things. It's going to take so long to master that out that it's not going to be easy. You can't, at that point, it's so late in the game, they're not going to get a chance to master something else out. If they are going to be like an actual master at something, that has to be their dedication through like the whole game in order to get to that master level. Mm-hmm. So then it's just a choice on, like I was saying, master of one or jack of all trades, or jack of a couple of trades, whatever they want to do. Like it's going to be just their path, and it might even become an unintentional thing. And I think that's what would kind of make it more fun as player too, is like if you're not intending to not use your sorcerer as a sorcerer, but the situations you keep getting in keep being more fighter style positions that where you're not really using your spells. So it kind of helps auto correct your build to what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
I think
something I was
another way that you could make it a little more interesting is kind of like in some video games how they do to where they make it that you absolutely cannot max more than one skill. They basically give you like an amount of skill points to where you can't just have an infinite number of skills. You can't get all the skills because you have to pick and choose your skills wisely. Say your level cap is 50, so by level 50 you're only going to get 50 skill points, but there's like 100 skill trees to choose from. Now you have to really basically pick and choose where you're going to put your skill points, because say you want to be a master blacksmith but fighting and defense is more important. How much do you go into blacksmithing to where you don't want to waste too many skills to where you're going to need your fighting skills? You could also throw in like a curve like that to where it kind of not so much discourages somebody from trying to be a jack of all trades, but more so makes them strategically have to place their skill points. Like, where am I going to focus my energy to being a jack of certain trades to where they're not just farming? Like, that would be one way that you could potentially prevent farming, but it does kind of also put more restrictions on the player and could potentially lead to not being as fun. I know in my case, like when I play a game, I want to get all the skills, and like when I have a skill cap, I'm like, fuck, you mean to tell me I can't level up this entire skill tree because I want that skill tree?
So you're telling me I got 7 playthroughs now? I got to do 7 playthroughs
to get all the skill. I want to play them all, and that's how they definitely make replay value in video games. But this is a completely different. Obvious.
That or the special unlockable items to go for the next playthrough.
Mm-hmm. Or expansions. Hey, you got 25 more fucking levels, but we added 3 more skill trees, so fuck you.
Yeah.
So something I realized is when I suggested the farming, I think I stopped thinking about the actual or the structure of leveling in D&D, and so it kind of already has all of those checks and balances built into the system. And I think the easiest way to do it would be, as you take tallies, you just kind of mark down, okay, that was more magic tally, or that was more melee tally, or that was more skill-based tally. And then whenever they go to their level and you look at their tallies and the direction they went in, you kind of just say, hey, as you level, make sure you consider the fact that you play dominantly in skills and ranged fighting. So maybe take your level somewhere that's going to increase your proficiencies in your skilled uses and your ranged fighting. And it's kind of more just a guiding hand from the DM's perspective.
I wouldn't. I'd fucking straight up, like, keep tally marks and be like, it takes, at level 1 to get to, level 2 sorcerer, you have to get 10 tally marks in sorcerer, and then just be like, and you're just keeping track, and then they don't even know, where it's like, they'll get done with the fight, and you'll be like, hey, take a level in sorcerer. Or, like, they're a sorcerer and, like I said, they haven't been using their spells and they've been melee fighting and they're going through and, hey, all right, go ahead, take a level in fighter. What? You've been using fighting. Take a level in fight. You have, so where you as the DM set up, okay, 10 tally marks is level, gets you to level 1 fighter, and then you increase that number of tallies for each level because it takes longer to get from, the higher level you are, the more you have to learn to get to the next level. So then it's each time, you increase the number of tallies of that type of activity where you're just tracking as you're listening to, what they're saying they're doing. You're deciding what area that fits in and you just keep a fucking tally mark for each player, and just be like, oh, okay, sorcerer, I run in and I hit him with my mace. Okay, go ahead and roll for that. And as you say roll for it, you fucking just make a fucking tally mark. And then at first there's like, what the fuck is he doing? And then it gets to the point of, hey, go ahead and take a level in fighter. What? No, I'm a sorcerer. Yeah, but no, take a level in fighter. I think that'd just be super fun. Like, no, that's what your character has learned because that's what you've been doing. So
I think a good way to do this too is because there's 12 classes, right? I believe there's 12 classes.
Oh fuck, man! With all the expansions in D&D Beyond right now, I don't even know. Like main classes, probably.
Well, not races, classes. Like ranger, fighter, druid, monk, barbarian.
I don't think there's 12.
There's 12. That's perfect because then you get 6 categories and you group them together. Range, nature, support, melee, magic, cursed, extreme, or whatever kind of mixes you do, and then basically you say, hey, take a level in this class. Like, hey, you've been doing a lot of ranged fighting, either pick ranged or distant magic, or hey, you've been doing a lot of melee, so pick monk or rogue, or hey, you've been doing a lot of crazy stuff, do barbarian or paladin, like you've been doing a lot of tanking, or things like that, to where you that way with the tally system breaks down to a smaller level, but there's options. That way they don't have to say, hey, pick fighter, but it's, hey, pick martial, or hey, pick ranged, and that way they can pick one of the two that they want to travel through that fits their build better.
Yeah, I mean, because it would get kind of hard to distinguish between, as the DM, when they're doing an action. Okay, is that a fighter style action or is that a barbarian style action? Is that a monk action or a rogue action?
Mm-hmm.
The way they're doing things. So it would get kind of hard to distinguish. So then, yeah, you kind of just got to break it down into smaller, like you're saying, smaller groups,
or even just give them categories that you as a DM create, like a ranged category, a melee category, all these categories, and then you just let them pick that class for that category that they want it to be in.
Yeah.
And in that way you just say, hey, take your ranged, or hey, take your martial. But that way it fits their build, but they're not knowing what their build's going to be as they go up.
I love it. I think that'd be fun for campaign 2 whenever we decide to start campaign 2.
Yeah. Or even a shorter DM's only 6-shooter.
Let's do it. We need to get Cameron in some more games. He's itching.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, you got
fucking
the itch.
junking it up over here, scratching. I need to play.
I mean, I would like to experience more to kind of understand more. I've learned a lot by, co-hosting with y'all and listening to y'all. I seem like I zone out over here, but I do keep an ear open. And these are obviously ideas that are thrown out that are different from the main play styles of, like, most campaigns. So I'm hearing stuff that is kind of, like, experimental. And so I kind of hear... But when like, say, Bruce in his character creations likes to do those, and like, say, like, what did we do last? Mario? If Mario was a playable character?
Mario, yeah.
So yeah, like that kind of stuff gives me more of an idea, but I would like to play some more with y'all. Figure it out.
Alrighty, well, I'll start working on a DM or start working on the campaign for us, the little 6-shooter.
I'd love that. Hell yeah. Although Bruce has been bugging me that I need a DM one too, so I need to put one together as well.
I remember.
Yeah.
He has been bugging me. So I need to do that. Alright. Well, Nick, any more on that, or?
Well, I got some more, but I think we can take a trip on over to the bridge to finish up some of them questions.
The bridge?
To Terabithia?
Oh, no.
No, the bridge that goes over the water where we throw down into the Forum River where we pull up the questions.
The troll bridge?
Yeah, it's a toll bridge with the troll who takes the toll.
All right, Cameron.
Me.
Hit me with a forum troll question.
All right. The forum troll question. You gotta pay the troll toll if you want to get this boy's soul. Let's see.
By the way, all the ones I sent you tonight are all from D&D.
I was gonna say they're all D&D Beyond.
D&D Beyond.
D&D Beyond. Let's see. First one. We'll just go with the first one. This is from Gamzee, with 2 eyes, I should say. For DMs and players both. That's how this starts here. I'm planning my next campaign, entirely homebrew plot and setting, which is where I shine. To be a level 3 to 20... to be a level 3 to 20 high magic post-apocalyptic fantasy game. It will be classic-ish campaign, not focused necessarily on heavy survival elements, although that may factor in early game. Methods around survival elements will be accounted for in a way that doesn't become obnoxious later game. I'm curious as to what sort of ideas folks might have for such a setting, for plot hooks that it might be interested in if they were playing in such a game, and any other such nuggets. I like the term. I like that use of that word. I'm not asking anyone to build my game for me, just for some inspiration, as there's little I've found aside from Dark Sun that seems to align with what I've got in mind. Things I've already got rattling around my head, more wild or unpredictable magic, pockets of unstable gravity, spaces where the planes have converged, thinning veils, and a reason why higher-level magic users and or the gods haven't just magicked/wished the world being back to being fixed. Thank you. That's
a chewy nugget.
It's a big nugget right there.
Isn't it? I really liked it when I found it. That's why I brought it. And I thought, this is a great Nick question when I read it.
Oh, man. This is one of those questions if I could add like 30 minutes to prep with it, to think about it deeper.
That's not how we work here, bud. All off the cuff. Off the fly.
All right. Well, so post-apocalyptic, high magic, thinning veils. We got areas of gravity that goes poof. We got areas where you're walking, all of a sudden you're in the Fey realm. Oh no, now you're in the Shadow realm. Oh no, what's that? Now you're in the 8th floor of hell. Who knows? You're tripping all over the place. Well, and why haven't the gods fixed it?
Because they're enjoying the show.
If God could just fix it, then we'd be a singularity and it'd be nothing. Just be nothing. Just gets rid of all the drama of life if God could just fix it. It's not even a question.
So, I know he had mentioned one D&D campaign. I don't remember what it was now.
Dark Sun.
Don't know that one myself.
So, I don't know that one. But don't be afraid to step out of the D&D world when you're looking for inspiration. I know you're saying you're looking for inspiration, and this is the only inspiration you found is Dark Sun. Don't be afraid to step outside the D&D world to get inspiration from other things and bring them in. Like, if you're looking for post-apocalyptic stuff and storylines in a post-apocalyptic world, it's not bad to draw on, like, the game Fallout or so many post-Mad Maxes, so many post-apocalyptic.
So we're talking
games
about
and movies.
post-apocalyptic world. We got to ask ourselves, what was the apocalypse that this is taking place after? What caused the world to be like this?
Aliens.
That's what we're going to run with. Aliens came down and they caused this world. We thought they were gods. No, they were just elder beings. Thanks, H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Oh no, Cthulhu's back.
So, yeah, figure out what caused your apocalypse, what the world, what they did to cause it for this to happen, and then figure out what the post-apocalyptic world looks like. And like I said, pull from books, pull from games, pull from movies, TV shows, anything you want really, and get your inspirations from there as well as D&D related things, but take those non-D&D things and make them D&D. If you've listened to this podcast, you've heard us do that a few times with several different movies,
especially those with Nicolas Cage involved.
Especially fucking that's bad movie, good campaign. Yeah.
All right, so Gamzee, I got it for you. Once upon a time, there was a happy world with high magic. People lived in harmony, fuck technology, but out of nowhere, aliens come down. wreck shit, destroy the fucking world, right? Aliens, 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 they're fucking everywhere. They're raping your churches, burning your women. It's terrible. And so the whole world gets wiped out and society starts to rebuild after the aliens have colonized and they're taking over. That's why you got fucked up gravity, because aliens got spaceship fucking portal things that they launch up in the sky and float back down because it's fun for them, but it kills you if you try it. You know, shit like that. And why does there no high magic to fix everything? Because their technology is powered off your magic and is stronger than your magic because they're amplifying it into their guns with, you know, little crystals and those power things, and that's your new currency. What else? Oh, that's right. All your high magic users are being sucked on by illithids. That's right. These aliens are illithids. They're coming down. They're taking over. They're high-minding it all. And they're taking over. And they're all ran by Karn. And he's the big old demon beholder undead guy. And you got to go all the way back to classic D&D for that because that campaign exists. And you just got to twist it to fit your own.
Boom. Let me see that fucking mic drop of that fucking...
Wow, that was impressive.
Shit you just
that was very impressive.
unloaded in rapid succession.
I'm glad you used aliens, though. That made me happy.
You can also say the gods can't fix anything because you had mentioned the planes intersecting, and I would say different planes have different gods, but because the planes have intersected, it's fucked everything all up, and now the gods can't do anything in the worlds because they're so intermingled that they can't break through their barriers to get to
that's already gods
your
in
mortal
D&D,
world.
like normal rules. Gods are stuck behind the divine gate, locked away in a dimension that they can't access the others, while the others all collide with each other.
See? It's already there.
Also, did I hear you
There,
make
bud.
a Whitest Kids You Know reference?
Yes,
midway
you
through
did.
that? I thought so.
Raping your churches, burning your women.
Yep.
I don't know what that is, but I thought it was pretty fucking
And who comes
funny.
to save the day? Good, our hard-working, honest Americans with baby skull-seeking bullets. They could just fire off left and right, and they lock on. Bam, bam, bam. Bikers falling down left and right.
That's right, the baby skulls. And the thing is, they wear those baby skulls around their necks. That's right. Say they strap a
idea
bulletproof
what
vest
the fuck
around
you guys are
bears.
talking about.
Bulletproof bears. Everyone knows you can squish a bear with a boulder. No one's gonna go around killing. What about all the people that? What about when you take our giant boulders away? Because all the innocent people getting killed with giant boulders. People don't kill each other with giant boulders. They will if you take away their assault rifles.
Jeez, I have not heard a Whitest Kids You Know reference in so long. That was a classic show.
That was my favorite
So
back in
good.
high school.
So good. My favorite skit of theirs was when
Breaking my butt. Don't break my butt.
no, not that one. When fucking they're in the spaceship launch and Trevor Moore keeps opening food and it keeps spilling back on them. They're like, "Why? Just wait until we're in space. We're supposed to be eating the Skittles in space. What are you doing?" I don't know why that one always tickled my funny bone. Or I got my gallon of PCP. Like, they make it in gallon form? Oh yeah, science. I watched a lot of Whitest Kids You Know back in the day. So that tickled me silly. Anyways,
Back on track,
continuity,
motherfuckers.
continuity conductor, please.
Back on fucking
Please
track
bring
here.
Who said that? That's the forum troll.
Hey, fuck you. You know what? It's funny, Nick. You were gone. I had to change my name. Alright? Because I didn't have anything to continuity conduct anymore. You're fucking back. I know. First thing I have to fucking do is get your ass back on track,
Where the fuck's
motherfucker.
your train whistle? Where's your train whistle, Trevor?
I haven't had to use it in so
Yeah,
long. I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to find it now that you're back.
All right. Question number 2. We're gonna go for another question on D&D Beyond.
D&D Beyond.
D&D
Beyond.
Beyond.
This is from, oops, I lost it. There it is. Arc Rose, or Arch Rose. I like Arc better. 1321. Let's see. Maybe I'm not the first to think of this. Their number 1321. That's the Arch Rose that they decided to be. Maybe I'm not the first to think of this, but here it is. A character that is actually 2 different characters / creatures that share the max HP, stats, skills, spell slots, if any, and use the other as a focus to cast spells. Basically share everything, and each gets their own action. As an example, with this set of creatures, you could have one be a fighter and one a sorcerer. But in order for the sorcerer to cast spells, they must take some sort of physical contact with the other that turn. But they share HP, so if one falls, so does the other. Meaning, revival should be twice as hard. Revival is impossible if they aren't brought back together, within a certain time frame of the other. Or the alternative is the HP is split in half based on a d6 or due of HP. So a level 1 of this could have a max total of 8 HP, but each has only 4 max HP. Perhaps it is a bit difficult of a concept to put to pen, but I guess the reason I'm posting this is I think it's a good idea, and I'd like to hear what others have to say, as pros and cons for this race/class, or what they feel would be good bonuses or negatives for it. So a dual class.
Okay, so, Nick, do you remember when we had Kat and Doug playing with us?
Yeah,
and
that was one body, 2 spirits.
I know.
This is one
I'm
spirit,
saying
2 bodies.
kind of same thing, just split into 2, yeah. So
the problem I'm seeing is they're basically saying, hey, I want to double my action economy.
No, I think it's 2 different players. I would think it's 2 different players in your game, each playing a half of this character. Otherwise, yeah, you're just doubling your action economy.
So a couple things I thought of that wasn't quite the same that I would want to change it if I was DMing for this person. Because the way they're making it sounds super complicated. I was thinking maybe the idea of some type of caster who has a familiar, but the familiar is a housing unit for an extra soul, and that way that being can inhabit the body of the person and soul swap between the familiar and themselves, allowing them to take turns in the body. That way there's a divide of 2 different bodies, but one's in a small animal form and the other's in a human form or humanoid form, and then they can switch out and take turns like that, so that way it's not overpowering the action economy. Maybe it could be like if you were playing, say, 2 kobolds dressed up in a trench coat, and then you wanted to jump down and split, so it's you have 2 kobolds and they act as one who's a person, but they can split down. One's a ranger, one's a wizard or something, and they pow pow, zap zap, and then you split up like that, and then you would get the attack action, or basically just, I think that's going to be the best way to tackle this, is you treat it as one character, one total class or whatever, and you just multi-class it back and forth, but they share an action economy, they share a health pool, they share spell slots, everything like that. The only difference is so whenever they go to take an attack with an attack action, if they have 2 attacks per action, well, they both can take 1 attack. Otherwise, it's one takes an action attack and the other gets the bonus action off of it. And it's literally just a body split, kind of like a Jester's Duplicity from Critical Role Campaign 2.
I like that. That really helps solve the double action economy. So yeah, if it's one person that's playing this character that's splitting into 2, I think that's definitely the best way to do it. If it's 2 people that are playing 2 characters that are just have this interesting backstory where it's the same soul split into 2, then I think it would be okay to have 2 action economies, but they have to rely off of each other to use those action economies, kind of like he was saying. That would be fun. But yeah, if it's one person that is trying to play 2 characters, then yeah, I don't think I would allow it, because then you're just doubling the action economy. But I think it could be fun either way. Interesting twist.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something, that the DM and players are going to have to work out on a regular basis for probably the first 5 to 10 games before they really get it hammered in, just to work out the specifics and make it balanced.
Yeah.
I think anyone that wants to play something that complicated just needs to go and prepared to, really be willing to work on it, make compromises, and just work on the DM with the game to make it fit your play style and let your character fit properly into the DM's game altogether.
Yeah, definitely have a session 0 with your DM. Explain to him your idea, what you're thinking, and then let him tweak it a little bit to make it work for his campaign. And then, yeah, after, the first couple of games, sit down, have a talk with them. How do we need to tweak it to make this work better? What you think as far as what, you want your character to be, as far as what you're experiencing as you're playing it, and him tweaking it a little bit to still what's going to fit better into the campaign, and kind of do that a few times until it really gets nailed down. Do you want a question from a listener? This question comes from Dr. Jones, Osmosis. So, Dr. Jones sent us this message and said, "You should discuss the complexities of teamwork needed for a party of 5 level 5s, leveling high CR battles. Our hitter got banished 3 times yesterday and had to surround the Archmage that was banishing him so we could hit him and break his concentration."
So it's a party of 5 level 5s. They were fighting an Archmage, and I'm guessing they said they're hitter.
They're heavy hitters, so basically they're tank.
Okay, they're tank, or that's their DPS dealer, or DPR, their damage per round hitter. The tank is the one that's going to be the absorption. So maybe they're rogue or a monk that had empowered key or something, or a paladin using their divine strikes. But whoever their main damage dealer, the one that takes the big old 80 plus HP health chunks out of the baddies, kept getting banished, and they had trouble breaking concentration.
Yeah, she just wants to know what we think as DMs, the complexity of teamwork that's like needed. So like, we kind of had to talk about this, I know, in our campaign recently, where we're all level 8 characters, and we were fighting and we were struggling in these battles together, because we all had our own game plans and own things we were trying to do. So kind of, I think what she's alluding to is discussing the importance of getting everyone to work together and defeat, whatever it is you're fighting, and also how do you do that? How do you get everyone together to go after this common goal when it's 5 different people with 5 different skill sets? How do we get people to work together?
I got 2 different types of answers for you for the 2 different questions you asked. One is help for this exact situation and how to describe, the action economy and strategies for just general party play. And then secondly is how to keep everyone on board and understanding strategy in the game, which is a talking point I had written down that I'll bring up after I go into some strategies that these players could have done. So generally, the idea is that there's a caster who had a concentration spell knocking their heaviest hitter out of the game, so they couldn't do any real heavy damage because they probably had all their faith in this one person who could break spells probably, or could, knock concentration by doing high damage, and all their other hitters were low damage dealers. So something that you got to figure out is whenever you go into a battle, general strategies is you have a big main guy and a bunch of small guys. Well, if the small guys aren't continually spawning, take them out first, minimize the amount of damage that can come to your party, because the more people you have on your party doing damage outward stays the same if you knock out all the small guys and focus all attention on the big guy, versus taking all the big guys damage and then also 7 small bits of damage all over interrupting you. So always take out the interrupting forces first, then target the boss. Secondly, if they have any healers or supporting or buffers that are in the party, buffing enemies, healing enemies, or debuffing your party, making it harder for you guys to hit it, those become your priority. Get rid of the healers first, and then the buffers and debuffers, because those are going to make the battle harder for you as you fight it. From that point on, go after their strikers, their damage dealers. Once you get rid of their damage dealers, and you guys can now maximize your time on the playing field before you die or need to re-heal up, you now expand your action economy so that you can focus max damage and buff on yourself and damage on the big boss. In this case, because their heavy hitter went down and kept getting banished, what that means is you now know that big boss can't attack you with any other concentration spells without that one dropping. So as players, pay attention to the spells the Archmage is casting on you and catch your DM in, they just cast a concentration, that means they're back. They dropped banishment, our hitter's back. Secondly, find out who your second and third ring heavy hitters are and send them after it first while using any supporting members you have to support, and then, buff them. Hit them with, holy weapon, so that way you put a radiant light on your monk's hands, so even though they're only doing 1d6 damage, they're also doing 1d10 radiant damage on top of it. and it's considered a magic weapon, so they're not taking, if say it's an archmage who's resistant to non-magical attacks, well, now you get rid of that non-magical debuff. Another thing to do is, now you have to wait it out. So you retreat, take cover, and then start doing range damage, so you aren't taking damage while your hitter's gone, because he's safe in the other round. He's not going nowhere. He's just hanging out in another dimension. Let him disappear wherever he's at and chill out, recuperate, regather your strength, and then attack again when they come back or towards the end, because you got a full minute before they're lost there, so you can go, take 5 turns, recuperate, after hiding, come back out and attack, and then give yourself a few more times to just throw everything you can at this person, and dealing as many attacks as possible over high damage. You want to get multiple rolls, more chances for them to lose concentration.
And I would just add to that too, as a player, pay attention to what the other people in your party are doing, and also think about your other party's strengths and how you can set them up. Now, stop thinking in an individualistic, that's the word, mindset of, fuck man, I want to get, 50 points of damage here. Okay, maybe you can get 50 points of damage, but you might be able to do something else that sets up the next guy in initiative to get even more. So, yes, you're not going to be the champion, but you can't all be champions all the time. You got to set up someone else to get, something even better. Maybe you have a way where you can knock someone prone, and then that gives the next guy in initiative an advantage to attack and really get a lot of damage on this character. So always be thinking about that, and be thinking about the team and how you set everyone else up. And when you get set up for something, take advantage of that, and then think about setting the other people up too. And that just comes from conversations with the players outside of gameplay, and figuring out what each one's strengths are, what they have, or just paying attention to what they're doing throughout the game. And okay, I know that my spellcaster has this spell that can really do a lot of damage. What can I do in my turn to help set this scenario up where they can use that? Like she was saying, like Dr. Jonah was saying, kind of thinking in a teamwork mentality to actually take down the boss instead of, or taking out the minions or whatever, to actually go through the battle, and make sure kind of everyone's on the same page too. Like Nick was saying, you need to take out your healers and your spellcasters, or your healers and your buff debuffers first, and then the minions, and then the boss. Make sure everyone's on that page. Don't, okay, I know that I need to take out, these players first, these NPCs first, but these other 2 or 3 people I'm playing with don't, and they keep going after the boss, and now I'm the only one taking out these minions, and that's why we're getting just pillaged. Make sure everyone is going in with the same game plan all the time, and actually have a fucking game plan when you're going into a battle, rather than just everyone going in. Because like I said, when everyone just goes in and you don't have an in-game or over-the-table conversation about it, then you have 5 different people on 5 different plans doing what they think is best.
Another way to look at it too is think about tracer rounds. Think about tracer bullets. If you're watching any type of military, history channel or military channel and seeing like dogfights, you got the one flare round that shoots off so you can see the line your bullets are traveling as you're firing out a streamer every so often. Pick your tracer in the group. Who is going to tell you where to focus your fire? Someone who's good at strategy. Just, the whole group doesn't have to be good at strategy. Just pick a designated strategist, and they're going to be your tracer round. Wherever they hit, the rest of the group concentrates fire on focusing on that target or working on their buffs or their support. But that way, all strikers, everyone can basically follow the one lead and bounce around where the one main tracer is leading. That way, you can concentrate fire and only have to, let one person do the thanking, and the rest of you kind of just support them as like a backing role.
And while Nick was saying too, that you're concentrating fire, just kind of reminded me of this too. when Nick is saying too that you need to take out your healers and debuffers, and then and then the minions, and then the boss. Don't have like, if you have 5 or 7 different minions, don't each person take one minion and try, go one-on-one with them, each person going one-on-one. Team up in, either 5-on-1 or 3 and 2, split it off where you're both attacking that, so that, like he's saying, you want to lessen the NPC action economy as much as you can, as fast as you can. So it's about taking each person out as fast as possible so that they don't have that action economy to come against you. So, if you're going just one-on-one, it's going to take more rounds to drop that person, and then that's more hits coming at you. So just focus on 1 or 2 of those people and get everyone to focus on those 1 or 2 people. That then it'll drop them out of the fight, and then you move on to the next one and move on to the next one, and that way you're just constantly lowering the NPC action economy, and your ratio becomes better and better and better until
you're at
eventually
the boss.
It's all of you.
So until you're at the boss, and then it's just one bad guy hitting you versus all 5 of you taking a turn against them.
Exactly. So think about that too, and really concentrate your fire on a couple of NPCs rather than splitting off and each taking one.
And then to really solidify this in the group, something I wanted to talk about was I have it written down as kill confirm or reflective experience. And the idea kind of fits in also with the whole tally count system we talked about earlier, in that at the end of every day adventuring, the party has to gather around the campsite or gather around the tavern, wherever they're staying at, and bring the day to a close. Talk about and reflect on all of that day. Like, even if the day took three game meetings, set or 9 hours of playtime, but it was only one day in game, the party has to sit down, go back over their notes, and reflect at the end of the day everything that their characters did. And then only when they reflect on doing it do you allow them to obtain that experience that you as the DM have written down. But this also gives them a good time to, talk about strategies that worked in the day. Hey, I noticed your character, or hey, Warlock on my team, I noticed you did this with that spell. What if I set you up like this and we use the spell like that? And then you can start, as characters, introducing a little bit more meta into the game, talking about the type of strategies you want to use, but as your characters, so that they're coming up in actual gameplay the strategies they want to use by interacting with each other, not just, hey, here's my character sheet, what looks good to you, okay, let's figure this out. No, it's, hey, I saw you use it like that, I thought about this cool thing, what if we try this out? Yeah, let's try it tomorrow. And then they wake up, and then for their morning routine they go practice some stuff, and then you, the DM, and the players can work out the, oh, that was really cool, I like that. So whenever you do that, I'm going to give you guys an extra d6 damage for the attack roll because you combined it.
Yeah, we did a little bit of that in campaign 1 too, where we set it up. I think you and Bruce had that conversation and then set it up with us, where it was like, hey, if you guys want to start to combine your actions, you can get more damage. And when he said that, Davbin and I set up, some moves together, because I'm this fucking 8'4" tall Goliath paladin, and Davbin is our 4-foot rogue halfling. And so we started setting up his weird little things where I throw him, or the one that we've used a couple of times is he, as a rogue, just runs and hides behind me because I'm such a large stature. He can basically just hide behind me, and then on my action, if I'm first, then I'll hold my turn until Davvin's turn. And what I do is I reach down with my I use a, god damn it, I can't think of what it's called now.
A halberd? Oh, pole?
Halberd, thank you. Halberd. So I reach down, I do this big sweep, starting at in between my legs, and I do a sweep uppercut with my halberd. But when I do, Davbin reaches down underneath me, and he actually grabs on to the halberd and then slides. So as I'm coming up, it like slides him through my legs and at the enemy, and he pulls out his 2 daggers and he slashes their shins as he goes through and pops up behind him, and then he has advantage on his attack, but because he's behind him, and I did an uppercut with my halberd, and then we both have 2 attacks per action, and so I take a downswing and he fucking stabs him in the back. And it works out super cool. It looks cool. It sounds cool. It adds flair to the game. And it's also, Bruce gives us a little bit of bonus on it because we're working together and we have this signature move that we've been working on. So stuff like that's super fun.
It makes me think of like an alley-oop or like an army of 2 when like you both have to work together to like get that like bonus kind of critical hit. I kind of like that. I kind of dig that idea.
And I really got off on the idea that the whole time I was picturing Davbin and Thello doing this, I pictured them both completely dressed as lucha libres, just rolling each other around.
Oh my god, that's obnoxious, crazy. Alright, I do have some more listener question here. This also comes from the realm of the TikTok. So, this one actually has 3 kind of quick fire questions I think we can get through. So, Jonah of the Coin from the TikTok once says, let me do this in my best Cameron voice. Jonah of the Coin from TikTok says,
are you mocking me, sir?
Yes,
sir, are you mocking me?
Yes, I am. I'm
wow, that's fucking rude.
How is the system designed? So he's talking 5e. How is the system designed for levels 5 to 15, and how to manage games outside of those levels? So there's this theory about D&D 5e that it is set up for mainly playing within the realm of level 5 to level 15. First off, what is your thought on that? And do you think that is a thing? And how do you think, yes or no, on whether D&D 5e is set up to mainly be ran between levels 5 and 15?
All right, so I can see the appeal to that argument, in that definitely right around level 4 to 5 you really start to get to know your character and build them in an in-depth way and start unlocking cool traits. And from there to about 15 is when you kind of get through most of the story bulk. And it's kind of like the same thing with like any video game you play. You got your tutorial levels when you finally get started at going into it, and then you finally get a hang of it, so it's real fun. But then you become overly powered because you figured out all the tricks and the dodge rolls and how to avoid the fire and so on, to the point that, you know, you're just not challenged anymore. And that's kind of how it is with D&D. Is from level 5 to 15 there's challenge, there's growth, but then by that point, once you get to level 15, unless you're not multi-classing at all, you're kind of missing out on the higher level points. So you're kind of just being like, oh, I'm level number 14 and I hit 20 now, but it's like I've only got to level 14 and level 6. So like, yeah, I was a level 6, but I didn't really make it past level 15 anywhere because of that multi-class. So the kind of idea also is that when most people make it to level 20, they're not making a level 20 pure monk or a level 20 pure druid or a level 20 pure fighter. They're always dipping somewhere and they're not getting that max level, so they're always handicapping themselves for those higher achievements in classes as they start to level up to level 20. And I think a good way to work around that is something I believe we talked about before, was kind of like prestiging, hitting level 20 and then resetting to go back through a different style, or to even have extra levels beyond 20.
Yeah, and we've also kind of talked about like the levels and what those would mean in real life, like as far as comparing adventurers to kind of real life stuff. Whereas level 1 through 5, you're like a really good Olympic athlete, so you can still do some pretty cool stuff, but you're not outrageously powerful. So you're still you're going up against pretty powerful stuff as an adventurer, and a lot of kind of out of this world things, which is what makes it an adventure. So those early levels, you're kind of struggling a little bit, and then once you hit level 5, and all the way through 15, you're progressing up so far where you're like demigod and like superhero kind of status, where you have these major buffs and these major huge different things you can do that makes you really strong and able to do things. Like I said, kind of at one point you can compare it to like level 10, 12, you're the Flash,
Well,
so
like a good reference is, think of Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. That would only be like an 18 strength.
So it's set up so yes, the skills and the things you have in your bag, or as you level up, yes, level 5 is when you start to actually get really good spells or really good abilities as a fighter, really good, whatever your class is. That's where you really start gaining the big items that you could use and do, because you're advancing past just being a normal person to, like I said, almost being like a demigod. And then what he's saying too is that kind of caps out at 15, because once you hit 15, level 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you're basically working your way past, or if you're level 20 and something, you are a god. Like, nothing is hard for you anymore. It's not as fun anymore because there's no challenge. It's where the way I can see someone arguing that 5e is set up for 5 to 15 is it's kind of really hard in those. It can be very hard in those lower levels and not as fun because you don't have as big of a bag of tricks in those low levels, because you're still kind of an average specimen of your species, just a little above. And then 5 to 15 is where you see that growth and that real superpowers coming in, where it's really fun because you have all these big awesome things you can do, and it's fun for you to, hey, I got 60 points of damage that round, and that's really fun. But you still have challenges in there. And then you hit level 18 and it's like, yeah, okay, I just dropped 120 points of damage that round, and I took 60 points of damage, but I have 450 health points, so whatever, brush it off.
Well, I think
Tis
this
but a
whole,
flesh wound.
This whole podcast episode that we just did would fix this a lot, because with the tally experience system, with the categorizing and the DM guided leveling, I think all of that removes the ability to optimize your character to be so efficient in all the things they do, and it makes it a little more chaotic and more like real life. So I think if that you were getting bored with the 5 to 15 and not really doing more, switch it up to the way we tried it today. Throw some more homebrew in it, like we've talked about, with the differing up experience and the way you level, and so not even starting at level 1. Roll those dice, start at level 1 through 4, and then on top of that, guided leveling from that point on. And now when you get to level 20, you're going to be a multi-class in like 6, or if we anywhere between 4 to 6 different classes, and you're not going to know how to control it because you didn't build it out yourself, you didn't plan it out.
Yeah, and you're not getting super OP. And even so, he asked how to manage, and that's one good way to manage it. Another good way to manage it is it should be managed, if you're going standard gameplay, through your DM. So while it should be very difficult at that 1 to 5 range, your DM should be leveling down the CR of what you're battling against to make it, you're battling a lot more small minions and stuff, versus going straight at something that's just going to be so hard for you to beat that it doesn't become fun anymore. It's up to your DM to actually level your battles to what you guys are. And once you're past that level 15 and you're a level 20, level 18 sorcerer, people can say it's not fun anymore because you're too overpowered. But then that's where it's up to your DM to bring something in that's stronger than you guys. So yes, you're all superheroes at that point. Bring in Thanos. You know what I mean?
Touching on that too, for what the DM and bringing stuff in. Another good point to mention is that what I noticed in a lot of conversation with other players and DMs is that there's a lot of time for resting, and there's a lot of downtime to heal back up almost after every encounter, after every battle. And in reality, between long rest in a single day, your DM's supposed to give the party 5 to 7 encounters, whether that be traps that can hurt them, or monsters or thieves or whatever it is. But there's supposed to be 5 to 7 encounters between every long rest, so that your sorcerers have to use their sorcery points, your wizards have to use spell recovery of some sort. There has to be something involved that makes your players ration out their spell slots, to ration out their action surge and those things like that. Their smaller bonus action type moves. Things that if once they use them once or twice a day, they're gone for the day. Well, no, you don't get to just go to sleep it off, and get back up. Now you got to go the rest of the day, the next 4 encounters without it. You got to make sure as a DM you're giving the challenge to your players by actually putting that challenge in there, and not just saying, oh, you guys fought, now you go find a camp spot to rest out. Like, no, you guys aren't tired. Yeah, you're a little worn, you can take a short rest. Let me know what dice you used, and then continue on with the day. But you haven't been awake long enough to actually go to sleep yet. You need to keep pushing on.
The second part of his question, he was curious our thoughts on the concept of changing rules, like making all cantrips bonus action, doubling known spells for non-wizards or sorcerers, but giving different subclasses of sorcerer spells, known table like in Tasha's, making frenzy not give exhaustion, and etc., but just making homebrew more acceptable at tables in general. I'd say we do that pretty much on the reg.
The golden rule to really follow when it comes to homebrew is, once you decide on a rule and the way it's going to stand, you all agree that's how it's going to go, and the whole table, not just the DM, but the DM says, hey, this is the new rule. The table says, yeah, okay, that sounds fair, and you guys all agree. For the rest of the game, that is how that rule is played for both players. You cannot change it halfway into the game because it doesn't suit the NPC or the player in that moment. Once the rule is set, that's the rule for the game.
I mean, I think that's kind of one of the beautiful things about 5e, is it's set up to be able to homebrew so much. Like, it's kind of a wide open platform that allows for homebrew. So don't shy away from it. Don't just go by player's handbook. Whatever is fun at your table, and whatever you and your players and the DM enjoy in your group, is how you should base your game around, and rules that you guys should make just to make it more fun for you. Because that's really how 5e is set up, is for you to have the ability to do those things and add your own flavor and own flares and tweak the rules and make homebrew. I think that Wizards of the Coast have already kind of helped normalize and make homebrew more acceptable at tables, just because that's how they set up 5e to be, is to be very inclusive with the homebrew. And just finding people who are of that thought is going to help a lot. I know there are people who play 5e that are straight sticklers to, well, this is what the handbook says. But
the handbook also says the DM gets to have the final say over all the rules anyways.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. That's what Wizards of the Coast, that's how they set up 5e to really be inclusive to homebrew, is they put that kind of stuff in there.
A good way to look at it too is that if you just go to D&D Beyond, there's an entire homebrew catalog of anyone that's a member can create and share their homebrew to the D&D Beyond community, where you can go and find homebrew items, homebrew races, homebrew classes, homebrew subclasses, homebrew rules. All of it's there, and you can basically create a campaign as a DM, invite your players to it, and then just put all your custom homebrew rules right in the D&D campaign for all your players to have access to at all times, and basically just start making your own compendium of rules that you have an addendum to in the actual rule book on your campaign through D&D Beyond. And if anyone wants to complain, you could just say, look, there's the logo, it's legit.
Like Nick said, if someone wants to be that stickler for the rules, and, well, this is what the handbook says, then the handbook also says that DM has final say in all rules. So, DM, what do you think? If we're going strictly by the handbook, then that's what the handbook says too, friend.
And hell hath no fury like a DM scorned.
Right? Thank you, everyone, for listening. you notice Bruce is not here tonight. We did have to go on without him. He's got some personal stuff that he had to attend to, but you still get us three, so what up? And so thank you, Nick. Thank you, Cameron, for being here. Thank you, everyone who was... Oh, thanks. Thank you, everyone who is listening.
For being with us in spirit.
Yeah, thank you for being here in spirit and being here with us since episode 1. This, I think, is the first night Bruce has taken off. I believe he's been here every other time, so he's a trooper. Thank you to everyone who listens, and we appreciate you listening to our podcast, and hit that like, follow, subscribe button on whatever app you use to listen to us. That really helps, and it lets you know when we have something new coming out. We do try our darn bestest to have something out every other Friday. Doesn't always happen, but we do try. But in the off case, like I said, hit that subscribe button. That way you get the notification when something new does come out. Listen to it whenever. Thank you to Carter, as always, for our intro she did for us. You can find us on most podcasting apps, and you need to spread the word like wildfire. Throw a fireball, as we say. This is your word of mouth is our AOE. So let someone know about the podcast who is playing D&D. Like, hey, you might get some good ideas if you listen to this podcast. Let your DM know about it. Other players in your party know about it, so that they can come and kind of like get on the same page. If they listen, Dr. Jones, if you had talked about getting them to do teamwork, say, hey, listen to this podcast, and then next time when you all get together, you're all going to be on the same page because you all listen to us.
And then you let them know if that your party has any questions, they can contact us at emailthedms@gmail.com.
Yep, email the DMs at gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram. We are working on getting our TikTok up and running, but I believe you still can message us on there. So you want to reach out to us, we have many different ways. Hit us up, slide into our DMs, and us DMs will do our best to help you out with your situation, whether it be a DM situation, a player situation, or whatever. Struggling with a creative concept, that's what we're here for. We'll help you. Just shoot us a message. Let us know. Slide into our DMs.
So I heard your mom likes dragons. You know what I heard about that?
What's that?
She likes when I'm dragging these nuts across her face.
Oh!
No.
Damn. Just burned everyone who listens to this podcast.
It's the dragon's fault. He's too fiery.
I'm sorry.
So why did Captain Tusk sleep with a narwhal? He was once told that mermaids were the unicorns of the sea.
Oh, God damn it.
Oh, God. Watch all of our quips be sexual.
Nope. I'm actually gonna take us back
the
in
wholesome
time
route.
a little bit.
Oh, nice.
Had a memory of what our quips used to actually be when they started out. So my quick D&D advice for you before you take off is just remember, flaws are fun. So when you're building your character, don't make him this perfect specimen of life. Make him have flaws. Flaws are fun to play. It makes it a more interesting game than having a perfect player. Utopias are boring. Okay? We don't play in utopias. Have some fucking flaws, you piece of shit. As always, farewell and adventure onward.
Spice.